Welcome everyone to another episode of Tech Now, a CATA Net TV special presentation. I'm very pleased to have you join us today, and also very pleased to welcome our guest today, Nadia Bartol. Nadia, welcome to the show. I greatly appreciate you being here. Why don't you say hello to our audience and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Hello everybody, it's great to be on the show. I work for Utilities Telecom Council in Washington, D.C., and my job is to be a cybersecurity resource to UTC membership and to utilities community at large. So I lead all UTC cybersecurity initiatives that stem along the lines of policies and advocacy a little bit, a lot of education, and a number of technical assistance initiatives. As a part of policies and standards, I participate in numerous working groups. Last count was 5 to 8, depending on the day of the week. And who you're talking to, these working groups are related to the implementation of the Presidential Executive Order on Critical Infrastructure Cybersecurity. I work in several standards bodies. Of course, we do a lot of education for the members, including various events, just like Kevin's. Just like the CATA events or greater scope educational initiatives.
Thank you. Well, we'll get to the event in a few moments. When people think cybersecurity, I'm sure most of us tend to immediately, leap to thoughts of spam protection, virus protection, hacking of retail organizations. Those are all in the news. I'm not sure people would immediately think of the challenges within a utility environment. Can you explain to us what are the significant concerns, the significant threats to utilities with respect to cybersecurity?
Sure. Well, there's really two series of concerns. One series of concerns is just like when your retailer gets a hack and then numerous credit cards get exposed. Utilities have customer data, and especially if you pay online, they have your credit card or your bank account number tied to you. So as much as we expect the retailers to protect our information, Target and Home Depot, the most recent hack, we also expect utilities to protect our customer data. So that's in data security. Data security is what people mostly think about when you hear cybersecurity. But there's another piece that applies to utilities in particular and some other critical infrastructure providers. Information technology underlies everything we do. A lot of this technology was developed when we didn't know how to hack into these systems, so it was left vulnerable to certain things. As this technology is migrating to support systems and utilities that were not supported by this technology before, these systems become vulnerable. And what these systems do is they run our power, they provide us water, they provide us gas. So the data isn't really interesting to anybody. But if you send it a wrong signal, if you confuse that system, it is, to quote a very smart colleague of mine, it is going to go boom. Mm-hmm. So we could lose these services. Also, worse things could happen. People could die because it impacts safety of the communities. It impacts safety of the utility workers. So really, one of the concerns is about the customer data, is about financials, and another concern is about safety and security.
That's very interesting. I know at our conference we're going to be talking a little bit about how cyber can impact on infrastructure. Clearly I can see how that would be a problem within a utility environment, and you touched upon, how it can actually translate into a physical threat. What sort of steps or what types of processes are utility companies looking at nowadays to help them counter some of those challenges?
There's lots of programs in place. Utilities are increasingly appointing an individual to be in charge of cybersecurity, whether it's for the entire company or there are several different individuals that are in charge of cybersecurity for different types of networks. It depends on the utility, it depends on its size, it depends on how it runs its business. A responsible executive or responsible manager is key because somebody needs to be heading these activities, and they need to be able to speak with the executive leadership and the board if there is a board. There is a number of quite simple things technically that can be done to reduce a lot of common attacks. There's also, and I don't know if I want to get into the techie stuff yet, There is also a number of organizational things that can be done. The simplest way to get into an organizational system is actually through, shall we say, stupidity of us as users. There is lots of evil people out there. They will trick us into doing things we don't intend to do. That's called phishing or spear phishing, when you get an email that looks like an email from your bank, but it's not an email from your bank. There are ways to tell it, but the people sending those are really good at doing it, so you may not be able to tell. If it's spear phishing, so it's targeted to you, you may get an email from your boss that says, look at this spreadsheet, I really need your forecast for the next quarter. And there will be embedded malicious files in wherever you click, whether it's a file or it's a link. Download something to your computer and starts doing things independently of you. It could go into all kinds of places in your system. That happens when we're at home. It happens when we're at work, because we access our email from everywhere. There are relatively simple things, although they're really difficult to do. We all need to be mindful of what we do. People need to be doing things differently with their computers, and that's not how we're used to doing things. So there's lots of people things we can do. There's lots of technical things we can do.
Well, that's really insightful, and I, similar to challenges I hear within other industry sectors. So, certainly looking forward to a deeper view of the challenges within the utility sector, which will bring us to our event taking place November 12th, 13th here in Ottawa, which you were one of our key speakers. I look forward to welcoming you here in Ottawa. Without giving away everything you'll be talking about at the forum, of course, what specific topics or issues will we be hearing you talk about here in Ottawa?
Sure. I'll be talking about two different groups of things. One is the global activities in standardization and improvement of cybersecurity practices. As I mentioned, I work a lot in the US-based initiatives and in the standards bodies, and there is some really exciting work going on. The level of national conversation in the United States has gone up several, several orders of magnitude since the issuance of the executive order on critical infrastructure cybersecurity and the work done to implement it. So it's been about 18 months, and the amount of conversation, the amount of awareness among not only a cybersecurity community, but the general technical community and business community has just gone up exponentially. So I'll be talking about that a little bit. I'll also be talking about what UTC utilities worry about in cybersecurity and a little bit of what they do in cybersecurity. Things like there is not enough people with the right sets of knowledge, like utilities are in providing critical services, lifeline services business, not in the business of creating information communication technology that underlies their systems and networks. So it is critical to have a good dialogue with your vendor about how they deal with security. Sharing of threat information among utilities and with different governments. How does it all work in different environments? So these are some highlights of what I will be discussing in several weeks.
Excellent. Well, we're certainly looking forward to that conversation. And I certainly appreciated the conversation we shared today. Again, I know you're very busy. I greatly appreciate you taking the time. Where are we speaking to you from right now?
Where am I from?
Yes.
I am in Potomac, Maryland, which is about 20 minutes northwest of DC.
Well, it's wonderful. Technology can bring us so close together to have a face-to-face conversation and share this with our viewers. So I appreciate you taking the time, and certainly looking forward to offering you as warm a welcome as I can here in Ottawa in November. Thank you very much, Nadia. Greatly appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing you then. And thanks everyone for joining us today. I look forward to hosting you at our next episode.
Thanks for having me.